Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I am Peter Brown, and it's Football Miami TV Weekly. So lots to talk about tonight. The season may be over, but there's just so much juicy stuff constantly coming out. MLS is becoming kind of like NFL in that 24, or I was going to say 24 hour, but that all year league. So we've got lots to talk about tonight. But as always, I am not doing this alone, so let's please welcome in Uncle Ed. Say hi, Ed. What do you got there, Ed?
Peter, how you doing, man? How's everybody doing? The force is strong with this one right here. That's for sure.
Yeah. What are you drinking there, Ed? I mean, I'm thinking.
Coffee.
Wait, coffee? What? Okay, but knowing you, there's something in that coffee, right? There's a little something in there.
A little something to drink. No, this time I've been a good boy because I'm supposed to work tomorrow. So
okay,
it's Sunday, so we got to. But we're definitely going to be talking about soccer. A lot of good information out there. I mean, the season's over, Peter. Tell me a little bit, man. We got business to do first.
Yeah, we've got some business to do, but it's lots to talk about. The Inter Miami released their roster decision. So did Fort Lauderdale CF, so there's some things to talk about there as well. Plus, we want to take your voicemails today, and we've got one voicemail so far. So if you want to leave a voicemail, please do so, and we'll throw that into the show and let your voice be heard. Also, of course, the chat room is open, and Ed will kind of welcome everybody into the chat in just a few seconds. So if you're watching and popping in, say hi, and make yourself a good shirt, Uncle Ed. Okay. Hey, while we're letting everybody pop into the queue and get hopping, let's say a big thank you to our sponsor, Caneswear. Caneswear is the store to go to for any Inter Miami gear. I was there just last week. I picked up that nice 3/4 zip training jacket for 50% off. They were having some great sales. Those sales are over, but they always have good prices all year long, and still have quite a really good selection still. I mean, they have one of the best selections you could find. So go to the store in Davie or go to caneswear.com if you don't live in Davie or it's not so close. I mean, if you're in Kendall, it might be a bit of a drive. So hop on caneswear.com and place an order there. I know some of our viewers here, some of you guys that are watching now use Caneswear quite a bit and use that website a lot. So go in and do that.
And please do it. Everybody wants to do it. I'm a little bit far away from Caneswear, but you know what? I'm going to get on the internet. There's a lot of Christmas shopping to do, guys. So take advantage of all the discounts right now.
Yeah, Ed, how was your weekend, by the way?
Dude, it was all right. Just kind of not keeping updated on MLS, but it's kind of not as interesting anymore because my team's not playing. But
it's funny you say that because I keep saying to myself, I'm going to watch a game, right? And I did watch. See how big of an impact it left on me? I can't remember what game I watched.
Wow,
I did watch one on, I think there was a game on Friday maybe that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to watch the Crew Revs game, but it's one of those things you say, I'm going to watch it, but then I get busy doing other things. And I think I was watching maybe a Christmas movie with my daughter at that time. That took a little more precedence. But I know there's a game tomorrow, Minnesota and Seattle. I do want to watch that game, and so then because then it's gonna be potentially Crew versus Seattle. Crew's in, and so they're gonna be the host of the MLS Cup. They're I think the number 3 team right now, number 3 ranked team. So that's pretty good. They made it pretty far, and they deserve it. But what about that coach? I mean, he did really, really well up in Portland, and then when his time was up and time to move on, he moves back to his Ohio roots, and he's killing it again. So good job for him.
He's on fire, man. I mean, he's a good MLS coach. I'm sure he's gonna try to move on from there, hopefully. But for now, he wants to win the championship.
Exactly. Well, I was gonna say, something. I was gonna say something quippy or whatever about our coach in comparison, but let's not do that. We'll leave that up for those in the chat. Ed, why don't you welcome some people that are in the chat room?
Of course, Peter Brown. We're gonna the first person that got on here is our good friend Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas always, he went to LA. I met up with these people, and he's always talking to us, meeting up with us every time we can. If you guys want to invite us to beer as well, you're more than welcome to. We'll meet up with you guys, right, Peter? It's not, we're okay with drinking beer. So we also have Judge Dredd the Law. I want to meet Judge Dredd the Law one day because I want to see what he looks like.
I know. I gotta, I'm up in the Kissimmee, Orlando area a lot. So I mean, you and I, Judge, we gotta connect one of these times that I'm up there.
Definitely a lot of soccer talk there, and I'm surprised he's a Miami fan and not an Orlando City fan. But at the same time, Orlando City.
Smart decision on his part.
Smart guy. We've got B King, who's also on board. Good old B King. One world, one goal, as always. How you doing? Jet Pancake is also on. He's excited about today's show. We got a lot of talk about, guys, so we're going to cover as much as we can in this hour that we have. Jose Velasquez is also on board. How you doing, Jose? We got another Jose Carrillo. How you doing, Jose Carrillo? Baldwin, what is that? Is that Roman numeral?
Roman numerals, Ed.
4? Yeah, is that a 4? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's a 4.
Okay. Let's see who else we got. He's talking a lot. He's, all over the place. Lynch McKean. Is that McKean? I think
don't know. You butcher the names.
Instead of me. And that's it for now. But we see 17 people are on there right now. So guys, go ahead and leave messages. And Peter, one thing before we get started, we are just about ready to hit 3,000.
We're like 3 away from 3,000. That's funny you mentioned that because I've been watching it. And if you're watching this right now, whether it's live or whether it's later on, and you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for?
Yeah,
Help
come on,
us
guys.
Get to 3,000. 3,000's nothing in the YouTube world, but it's something big for us, right? It's that next step. And then, so yeah, definitely help us get to 3,000 and subscribe. Only 3 more, Ed.
Tell your friends, like, subscribe, and share.
Growing
Futbol
this thing,
Miami TV.
Yeah, growing this thing very organically. Tell your friends. You guys spread the word, and you like it, so tell somebody about it.
Exactly. All right, Peter. Where do we start?
Well, there's a lot, Ed. So
there is. That's why I'm excited, and a lot of people are excited about this show too because there's a lot to talk about.
So I think, to me, okay, so the team released their list of players finally, right? Everybody was asking, like, when are the player announcements going to be released? They were delayed, they were late, and they're going to release it, but they take their sweet time. Now, as we go through this list, keep in mind that every player that the option has been declined or is out of contract could still end up back with this team. They're just may end up getting renegotiated for a lower salary or a new contract. If their contract is just out of contract, they just maybe are in negotiations for a new contract, which, we know they are, doing that with Andreas Reyes, and that they're talking to his people. They're interested in bringing him back, buying. But, the funny thing is they had the option to buy him outright, but from Atletico Nacional. But obviously they're interested, but maybe not for the price that original deal was for. So it's maybe his value to Inter Miami has gone down a little bit.
Oh, from what I hear, Peter is look at that special effects. That threw me off, man. It keeps throwing me off.
Every week it throws you off. It's now 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, but I was just going to say that Andres Reyes is, he's. I think they want him back because that team is hurting for defenders, and he's been playing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Miami wants to.
Although, if you think about it, he has been responsible for a lot of the goals. That you can't deny that.
But he's marketable, especially now that he's got that Batman thing going.
Lynch says no. Reyes sucks.
There's people that have different opinions. I think as far as marketing is concerned, those masks could sell really well. They call him Batman or whatever.
We lost you there for a second, but yeah, I get your point. They could market him, as a Batman or what have you. I got that. Let's first, before we have a voicemail, and I want to touch on that voicemail in a couple of minutes, because once we get to one particular player whose contract, he's still under contract, but once we get to one particular player, we'll go to this voicemail. But let's start to me, which was, I don't know, maybe the biggest surprise, not surprise type of thing, which is Luis Robles. So, the
right.
captain, his contract was not renewed.
Wow. So do you think they're going to negotiate, Peter? Or he's out?
So that's the thing about Robles. He's getting old, Ed. And so is he worth what we think he's being paid? So here's the thing. MLS Players Association every year shows the player salaries. They didn't do it for some reason this year, and I don't know why. So I was on the MLS Players Association website looking up all the salaries, and for whatever reason, 2020s are not there. I'm not sure why. They normally release it sometime in September. So I have 2019s. So we could kind of get a base, kind of an idea of what he probably signed for here in Miami. You imagine it's somewhere close to what he was making last year. So if we go with last year, he was making $490,000.
Well, you got to also think there was a reduction in everybody's pay this year because of, obviously what happened. So maybe that's why they.
That might be why.
Right.
So okay, but let's say he signed before the reduction, because we don't know at this point if this reduction is going to carry on to the 2021 season. There's so much about that we just don't know. But if we go with what we 2019, he was making $490,000, so right around $500,000. Is Luis Robles, who is coming back from surgery, and I think he's like 36 years old, and he was questionable in the goal at times. Great leader, but is he worth $500,000 or in somewhere in that neighborhood?
And there's another thing, Peter. They just renewed McCarthy, didn't they? From what I was watching,
yes,
they're already thinking about using him. And maybe they're going to. I think there's going to be some negotiating there. Maybe bring him back. Maybe he'll be the backup this time. Just because, but he'll definitely lose his captain position if he does come back.
So One World One Goal feels like they need Robles to trade or to take to Austin. Well, they've already declined his option. So, they don't need him. Apparently, they don't. So yeah, you could use players as trade bait and all that kind of stuff. But they've declined his option, so he's available. So they either look. I think there's a possibility they could bring him back at a lower rate, but you don't need 4 goalkeepers, right? So I think at this point you say goodbye. You bring in somebody else with experience. There's been some rumors about players from overseas. Obviously, it couldn't be a DP because we're already full. But maybe somebody that's got some international experience at TAM. I've mentioned before, I'm not really a fan of using an international slot on goalkeepers because I think we have plenty of good American goalkeepers. But if this team wants to do that, I think it. I don't think you lose. So if you let Robles go and you go with McCarthy makes a few mistakes. He's terrible at penalty kicks. But do you think you lose much going with McCarthy over Robles?
I don't know, man. But
I don't think so.
There's still Drake Drake Calendar's still on board.
He is, and they feel that he's still there, and obviously they think he's the promise, right?
Right. So I think in that sense they're okay. I think if Robles comes back, he's going to come back from less money because they want to move, open up roster space in there, money so they can get other players. And Peter, let's go with the defenders because I know there's some guys there that we can talk about that you have been adamant about not having them on the team anymore. But he's still there.
He's my favorite. Yeah. I don't know why.
You know who we're talking.
I don't know why you throw shade on Ben Sweat so much. He is my favorite. I think he could be the captain of Miami FC. He could stay in Miami and just for a different team. He'll be a great player in the USL Championship.
He'll probably kick butt on that.
You
want him for Inter Miami.
Hey, look. Miami FC's got a pretty sweet jersey, don't you think?
It's nice.
It's a nice sweet jersey. Color. Yeah, it's a good jersey. Hey, let me say this real quick before we move on. I just want to give a shout out to Miami FC. So they had a deal a couple of times. They've had different deals where they had you spend like $40, you got a shirt, you got a mug, you got like a flag, you got a few different things for like $40, and these shirts are normally like $80 or something like that. So I placed the order back in I think August, right? They had this sale, great. They send me the wrong shirt. I think I wore it once on this show. It was the away shirt, the dark blue shirt. They sent me that shirt at the wrong size, whatever. I write back to them. And some back and forth communication. Now, the back and forth communication took a while. It took a couple of months. But at the end of the day, they made it right. And I would hope Inter Miami would do something like this as well, or Fanatics. But they actually ended up sending me their white jersey, this jersey, which is the one I actually ordered. They also sent I got to keep the blue solid jersey that is too big. So now I've got 4 Miami FC jerseys. They sent me a flag. I've got a little banner. I've got several wristbands. Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Ed, how can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
All right, everybody, are you guys still on? Let us know in the chat if we're back.
You see us, guys? You see us? I don't think they saw the part where my dog got on. I think it's my dog's fault.
Oh, they say yes, talk. Okay, hold on 1 second, Ed. Entertain the folks as I do something real quick.
Guys, sorry about that. As you could probably see, we have a little bit of difficulty going on. I think Peter's internet died. Not sure if you guys saw it, but I think my dog was the one to blame because right when the dog jumped up, it's the image went away. But I noticed you guys didn't see that part, so I'm going to try to get the dog over here again. But I'm afraid that if I do, we're going to lose the image again.
Ed, so, I think your dog broke the internet, but
that's what I'm telling people.
I'm not sure what happened exactly, but one thing I like, I just got to say, one thing I like about the program that I'm using, it allowed me to resume the stream.
Yeah.
So that's great. So hopefully everybody is still in, and you guys, we just lost a couple of minutes, and we get right back into the swing of things.
We're gonna probably edit that out, right? That little part that we were gone for like what, 5 minutes or something.
I don't know how YouTube lives work because these aren't edited videos, as you know. It just posts live, so I'm not sure how it will look once it posts live, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to fix it, later on because I did see you could take certain parts out.
Okay, we could look at that. So
in the studio.
Everybody's saying everything is more clear now, so that's good. And
All right.
everybody, I love that everybody we bail for a minute and everybody just starts talking Christmas movies about the Grinch. It looks like the Grinch stole Peter. And actually, I had to restart my computer. I'm not sure if it was my internet or if it was what, but I had to restart my computer. So
I'm pretty sure it was your internet, man.
yeah. The funny thing, the funny thing is, there were some issues here yesterday. Last night, my internet was down up until like 2:00 in the morning. So there was something wrong in my neighborhood. So it may still be a little messed up. So and Abba is saying we got to flug this dog.
Oh man, I'm not bringing him back. You stay over there, dog.
Bruno broke the stream.
I think that's what it was.
All right. Well, anyways, we were talking about Brek. I told my little story about Miami FC hooking up the shirt. So thank you, Miami FC. Ed, you wanted to kind of go through some of these players.
Yeah, we were talking about. Let's go with the defenders first. We were talking about, of course, Peter's favorite player, Ben Sweat. Before we were rudely thrown off,
he's back.
He's back because he's under contract. So there's nothing we can do about him.
Yeah, I mean, some players signed multi-year contracts. Now, keep in mind that I think One World One Goal was saying something about Robles being a trade bait. Okay, Robles is not trade bait, but somebody like Sweat maybe, or he may be unprotected in the expansion draft. Austin may decide to pick him up. Right.
So, who else can we talk about, Peter?
So
defenders. Let's go with.
Let's just focus on the people that were options were declined. Let's go through those first. So, who cares about who's stand? We could figure that out, right? Just the players that Mikey Ambrose gets rewarded for that cracker of a goal in the last game of the season by getting his contract declined.
Mikey, it wasn't good enough. That's what they're saying. It wasn't good enough. Hell of a goal.
Okay, wasn't good enough, but he's a cheap player.
I don't know, man. They don't want him back.
So let me look up Mikey Ambrose. In 2019, Mikey Ambrose was playing for Atlanta United and was making just a little over $72,000.
Cheap.
He's cheap.
Cheap player.
He's cheap. So
and he's not that bad.
You figure, you could keep a guy like that. He's there for depth. And I mean, yeah, that might be a once in a lifetime goal. So you don't keep him just because of that goal, but there's depth and he's affordable.
Right. At least he can look back and say, look at this goal, kids. I made this, back when I was with Inter Miami.
Story for the kids, story for the children.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know if they're going to be able to. He's going to go to any other team. Maybe he's going to have a breakthrough at some other team, and then he's going to go to the national team, and who knows? I'm just going crazy here. But talk about national team. Juan Agudelo was declined. What do you think about that, Peter?
Yeah, I got a little image here of Juan. Yeah, Juan. I know that will make some of our viewers very happy. Specifically, one man will be very happy about this. I'm not going to call him out. He knows who he is. But Juan Agudelo can. Some people loved him. I know Franco Panizo is a big fan of him from SBI Soccer. Was a big fan of Juan, but Juan, just did too little. Didn't do enough. And again, if we go and we look at salaries from 2019, Juan is an expensive player. Juan Agudelo in 2019 made almost $575,000.
Wow, so it's a big paycheck for
over $500,000 for a player like him. Not worth it. Eric Thomas, you got your wish. I don't think they renegotiate that contract. I think they say goodbye. He was.
I thought you weren't gonna call him out, man. You just called him out. the guy. I'm not gonna call him out, and then you got your, you just messed with the poor guy.
But
fine.
But I didn't mess with him. He said Christmas came early. That's his present.
So you have to call him out. You're right. There you go. All right. So here's another guy, Jerome Kieswetter. We never saw him play. at least not with Inter Miami.
No.
He never got the opportunity. He had German experience. It wasn't going to happen for him. They took him down to Fort Lauderdale, and I think he scored a goal, but then we didn't hear anything else about him.
Yeah, it was.
I guess he didn't impress.
He obviously didn't impress. I know he was one of the most talked about players that never gotten on the field. So many people wanted to see him for whatever reason. That his resume, people thought, okay, this kid's good. Obviously, the coaches didn't agree. So something that's interesting that Franco Panizo pointed out in one of his articles was that 8 of the 12 players that have been declined or are out of contract were picked before Alonso was hired as a coach. So that tells you, I mean, and most, if not all of these guys are MLS players. So, these are not his type of players, apparently. Or, so now the team has to give him a chance to help pick some of the players, some players that would fit his style. If he's going to be our coach and you're really going to give him a full chance, you got to let him pick the players that he likes, or at least have a say in it, right?
Exactly. Well, here's another one. David Norman Jr., we didn't see very much of him.
Did he play?
Did he play at all?
I don't know. I know he played in the preseason, but I don't remember if he played an actual season.
I think he came in as a sub in one game, but
maybe.
There's another player that didn't get much of a chance, didn't play much, so it's obvious he was going to be on his way out. Here's another one that you're probably going to like, Alvis Powell.
Alvis Powell, he played a little bit at the end of the season and looked decent, but I'm not even sure how much did Powell make in 2018. I keep talking about how much these players make because I think that does definitely play a big part in whether or not they bring them back. And he made in 2019 $235,000.
Wow, so it's a pretty.
That's not a ton of money.
Pretty penny.
That's not a ton of money, but in MLS, you got to be able to deliver for that amount of money because at this point, you might as well just bring in somebody, some youth player, and bring him in for depth, and that's it.
Right. Okay. Who else do we have? We've got. We talked about Andres Reyes a little bit. His option was declined, but there's still negotiations. So a lot of these things they could still be negotiating with some of these players. We just don't. We just heard that they declined it. And
so you want him back, right? If you had your chances to negotiate the contracts, if put on your GM big boy pants and you would sign him.
I'd want him back because he's young, and I think you could build on what there were flashes of him being a good player, and I think he's got potential. And he's been called up to the Colombian national team as well, so he's young, and they could build on him. So. I'd like to keep him. Plus, he wears the mask.
Yeah, and
he wears the mask.
Exactly. And some people are agreeing Powell paid too much to be a backup. Oscar says Powell was horrible when he played. I don't agree. I think Powell showed well at the end of the season. I'm not going to say he was a star, but I think he played well, but not for that salary.
Right.
Who else you got?
Okay, so we've got Denso Ulisi. There's another guy that didn't, get much. Do you have anything on him? How much did he make before? Nothing.
No.
So there's another player that they got another extra room right there. Let's talk about the players that are out of contract, Peter.
Right. I think you got to start with AJ DeLaGarza, right? So again, let's go and look up how much AJ made, and he's right at
AJ just had a kid. He had his third daughter.
That's interesting, Ed, because we were talking about this before the show started, and I remembered I thought I saw this come across Twitter on the same night that Inter Miami released their player announcement, right? So their player decisions on the same night that they basically said he's out of contract, he had a baby.
Right.
It's like good news, bad news. Good news,
right?
A new addition to the family. Bad news, you may be out of work.
Yeah. Well, AJ, what little we saw of him, I think he was pretty solid. The coach, didn't play him that much, especially in the beginning of the year. I think he actually asked to, for a trade.
Okay.
It didn't happen. He stayed, and they finally used him.
Good point here. One world, one goal. Did he shoot himself in the foot? AJ spoke out about the Spanish, Peter, and now adios. Did he shoot himself in the foot by opening his mouth and not being necessarily? You could say he was not a team player. He called, although he held all the players responsible for letting the fans down. So, but he did point out some of the things that you might want to keep in the locker room. Did he
communication problems?
Does the coaching staff or the front office look at a guy like that and just say he's not the guy, that he didn't buy in? We don't want him.
Well, think about it, Peter. A lot of teams, and I think we talked about this personally, they have a lot of players who are Latin and they speak Spanish. They're all the LA teams have a lot of players who are Mexican, etc. A lot of these players are going to speak Spanish. The coach doesn't speak that much English. Okay, I understand that. But other coaches are able to do it. I mean, was there maybe not a translator? Is that one of the things that the team was missing, and the point wasn't getting across? The plays that the coach wanted to do, the English players weren't understanding. It's just something to make you go
Yeah, and as you're talking, I don't know if you've noticed, I was throwing up some of the comments that were happening between in there. So commentary on your commentary.
There you go.
He could have shot himself in the foot. And coach, don't speak any English. Ed, LMAO, says Eric Thomas. Yeah, I think that's a problem, but also I'm a gringo, right? So. And to something that a lot of people like to point out, and that's true, is this happens everywhere around the world. You've mentioned it before. They have translators and all that. You just said that, so this happens everywhere around the world, and teams thrive, survive, do well, and they figure it out. This team has got deep enough pockets. They've got translator money. Right.
Right. They should be able to do it.
They should be able to do it. So,
something to work on, I guess.
For me, Alonso not speaking English, I think, is a bigger deal when it comes to media promoting the team, because I think, like I said, they should be able to work through it on the field because other clubs in other countries do. But you lose a little bit when he can't really speak to the English-speaking media. Even the media then has to have a translator. That becomes. I think that it kind of may hurt the advertising for the team, for the marketing of the team. He's not as quotable unless you. So that means every Sun Sentinel, Miami Herald, or a blogger out there has to be bilingual. And I know there's a lot of bilingual people in Florida, but in South Florida, but not everybody is. You got dumb gringos like me.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, but Peter, let's talk about Federico Higuain. Okay, he came in for what, 3-4 games? The idea was to bring him in, have the Higuain brothers play together. Did they even play together?
Yeah, they played together.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, Higuain last year for the Columbus Crew. Now, Columbus Crew didn't want him. And then he played for DC this year. So I'm thinking he probably, when he switched over to DC, maybe took a pay cut. I don't know. But in 2019, Federico was making over $1 million, $1,100,000. So let's assume maybe when he got sent to DC that he might have taken a small pay cut. I don't know. And then, or even took even more of a pay cut when he came to us because he wasn't playing much in DC, right? It was a kind of a failed experiment, I guess, over there in DC. So he comes to us. So even if he's making, under $1 million, 800,000, 700,000, that's still a lot of money for somebody that plays only in the last 5 minutes of the game. Having said all that,
maybe his brother said, "Hey." Maybe his brother said, "Oh, look, I'm making a lot of money. I'll pay for his, paycheck, and
that's a creative
and he could
way.
Play with me." So I'm just, throwing it out.
It's not
there.
about
This is his brother.
But Ed, I don't think it's about the paycheck. It's about what's on the books, right? Because look, the ownership can afford it. If they really want somebody and if they really want to make their star player Gonzalo happy by having his brother here, they can afford it, right? It's about what your cap hit and what ends up on the books. So I would not be shocked. I would I think his salary will get negotiated. He will get a new contract just to keep our big baby Gonzalo Higuain happy.
Right, because he is our big baby.
I mean,
he's our big baby.
He's our big baby. We love him. But, he cries like a baby on the field, flaps his arm like a little kid on the field. And some people say he eats he's could be a little tubby, like, your little toddler's got, I think he looks fine. But everybody always makes fun of his weight.
Well, he used to be fat, but he came over here.
I know. But everybody, when they hired him, everybody was like complaining about his weight. And I'm like, the guy looks fit. But, whatever. Yeah. They still.
Well, he got a red card, too, because
I know.
He's being a little baby. So,
And there's so much. There's so much, I know we're on a roll as far as the players, but there's so much talk in the chat. I think we have to talk about. People want to see Vieira as a coach here in Miami. I think it was One World, One Goal that kind of brought that up, that Vieira is constantly being talked about here, and they spoke to him already, right? They talked to him before. He was an option before. But of course, he was still at Nice.
Right. Well, I don't think he's gonna come anytime soon. I think Alonso's gonna be here at least for next year, especially now that he made the playoff. The playoffs, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
For a little bit, even though we played one game and that was it, and it was a hell of an open playoff system, so that a lot of teams could get in.
Yeah, Vieira is One World, One Goal saying Beckham is good friends with Vieira. It didn't help land him to begin with, so let's just point that out. That a friendship only goes so far. People want a paycheck. But if Vieira is interested in sitting out jobless for half a year, enjoying himself, maybe there's an option for him in Miami. Because look, Alonso's our guy. He's going to be our guy, whether you like it or not, at least for the first, I'd say, quarter of 2021 season. If he tanks the first quarter of the season, I would not be shocked to see him go. And then you could talk about Vieira. But as of right now, stop the Vieira talk, because we've got a coach and they're happy with him. Or he's not going anywhere. They're going to give him a chance. I don't know if they're really happy with him, but they're going to give him a chance.
And especially for him to bring in players that he wants.
You got to give him a chance, I guess.
Yeah, we got to remember that he wasn't the guy that brought most of these players. And who did. And I don't want to mention that nickname that Eric Thomas said, but you could if you want, Peter.
I could what?
The guy responsible for bringing all the players in into Miami.
All right, what else? Who else we got? So we were talking. Do you think they would bring back Federico Higuain? Do you think they would negotiate a new contract just to make
the
Gonzalo
brothers
happy?
Play together?
Yeah.
If Gonzalo says I'll pay for it, they'll be like, hey, I'm just paying $50,000 and I'll pay for the rest.
Okay.
I think they'll go for it, but otherwise I don't think so, because he makes too much money. But let's talk about somebody that we want back, but is out of contract. Brek Shea. I think everybody wants him back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Brek
He's got
Shea.
the tats. He's got the look
Look
long
how
hair
cool he
that
looks
Peter
there,
used to have.
Yeah. It looks like one of my old friends back in the day, Ed.
Yeah, man. Totally.
I could totally hang with Brek Shea. He and I, if I was like 30 years younger, me and him would be buds. We'd be chilling out, hanging out, I
totally see that happening too, Peter.
I think so. Not now. He doesn't want to hang out with an old man. But let's say like 30 years ago, when I was young and dapper and I had my own long hair, we'd be buddies, right?
Of course, said the horse. Awesome.
So I think Brek earned a new contract. I don't know what he was getting paid, but if you look at his previous salary, this cannot be right. Okay, so in 2019, if he was making 225,000, and but by the time we picked him up, he was out of work. So, I'm sure they got him on the super cheap, because
they probably did,
and they hired him for Fort Lauderdale at first, and then he earned his way up to the first team. So I'm sure they got him on the super cheap. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw out a number. What do you think? Like 100,000 or something like that? That would be cheap.
Yeah, something like that. But I think he deserves to to be brought back. I think a lot of people would agree. He was that that real good super sub on the left. He could occupy any space on the left. I think he was a bargain.
Yeah, I'd say
and we should get him back.
I'd say bring him back. Whatever his salary was, throw in an extra 25,000 or something like that. Make him. I don't know if that makes him happy or not. Because look, he didn't have a good enough year to go and get his old salary. At one point, he was over 500,000. So he's not good enough to get his old salary back. But he's good enough to be on the squad, be a depth player. He played really, really well. He played well with Pizarro. So hey, since we're talking about players, Ed, I think I just mentioned Pizarro, and why don't we play a voicemail?
Oh, check it out.
Oh, and then we have another one too on top of that. So we've got 2 voicemails to play, but this one in particular I already listened to, so I know it's about Pizarro.
Hello, this is Uncle Ted, 69 from Coral Gables Creek, Broward County, Florida. I'm just wanted to see, I've been hearing things about Pizarro in the Spanish media. Maybe something about this. Heard that he was thinking about going back to Rayados or whatever the team was that he was playing with in Mexico. But then I heard that Inter Miami convinced him to stay. Is this all rumors? What's the latest on that? Because I don't see much of it just in the regular media here in South Florida, but I see some articles in Spanish. What I do is every morning or every few days I go into Google News and I type in Inter Miami and see what the latest is. And saw a few articles in Spanish, so if either of you guys heard anything about that. As far as I know, he's under contract to Inter Miami this coming season, but I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on him anyway. He holds the ball too long or whatever. He's maybe not a traditional number 10. But wanted to see what you guys thought. Take care.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Uncle Ted.
Uncle Ted always on top and giving us those great questions and stuff. Sometimes we don't know who he is, but
different name every time.
Peter,
different name.
Uncle Ted is correct. There has been some talk about him not being happy with the current situation with our team. But the actual news that I hear is, that he might go back to Mexico. At least there's the hope that they have for him to go back to Monterrey, who was one of the teams that was mentioned. Whether it happens or not is yet to be found out, because as you know, he's still under contract. I'd like to see him back because I think there is potential there. He's like Ted said, he's not a conventional number 10. I think he's more of one of those players that could play all over the place, liberal. Just let him do his thing, and he can create stuff. But the one that was actually playing as a number 10, I thought was Higuain. It was Gonzalo Higuain. So because he was going actually back and getting the ball instead of playing as the forward. And I think maybe he felt that he wasn't getting the services that he thought he deserved or that he was going to get. But I don't know. Morgan was playing great. I just think maybe Higuain is not the number 9 that we're looking for. And there's been talks about another star forward that, Radamel Falcao, which is the one that's been talked about a lot in the news lately, about him maybe not staying with Galatasaray, and he might show up and play with Inter Miami. That's yet to be found out. But what are your thoughts, Peter, on all that, on on whether would you want Pizarro to continue?
Yeah, I want Pizarro back. Again, going back to salaries and stuff, I think if I got this right, he's somewhere around the 4.9 million, so right around 5 million he's making. So he cost us a lot of money, and they paid a bunch to get him here. So look, it's not a matter of if he wants to come back. He's under contract. He'll be back unless somebody buys him. And this team wants to be a selling team in world soccer. So I think you look at it like this. Every player is for sale. And so if some club in Mexico wants to pony up, come on down. We'll take your money, and you can have
what we do. What we do know is that Pizarro doesn't want to go back to Mexico unless he has to. He wants to go to Europe.
Right.
Yeah. And there has been some talk about him maybe going to Spain. There's a couple of mid-table teams that are interested in him that I've talked to a couple of people in Europe, and they've been saying that there's a possibility that he might go to a team in the mid-table range in Spain. But I'm not thinking this year. I'm thinking the next year.
Well, whenever it is, Miami wants to collect that check. Miami wants to get that payday from the European club. It sounds good too, right? So that's think about this. It's a good recruiting tool. Come to Miami. Miami is your pathway to Europe. We could get you there. So they don't want to sell him to Mexico if they're going to sell him. They want to sell him to somebody in Europe, like you're saying, and because that's a promotional tool. Now the next player, you've got a track record. You could show we've done it. We advanced this guy's career, and you could be next. So come and give us a chance.
There's another guy, Morgan. I just mentioned him. Morgan. I'm sure there's a lot of people knocking on that door and saying, "Hey, man, this guy's pretty good."
Absolutely.
Is he available? And if he doesn't come back next year, I would not be surprised because he's that good of a player.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's already played in Europe, so they know about him. He's not a surprise to them. He's played over there. I think he might need another year in MLS just to really prove himself. Kind of just tear up the league a little bit, and then he might get that bigger contract. I don't think he's going anywhere in the offseason though. And he probably
likes being in Miami.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's got that funny talk though. He's hard to understand.
Yeah, he does. He does.
I've seen some interviews.
We're talking about.
I've seen some interviews with him, and I'm like, man, I don't understand anything this guy says.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe this wasn't the Spanish that we're talking that AJ had the problem with. It was talking to Morgan.
Exactly. That may be it. He didn't say anything about Spanish. He just said, they're not speaking the same language. And technically, him and Morgan are speaking the same language, sort of.
Kind of, but not really. All right.
All right. So, hey, you mentioned Falcao. Now, One World is saying Falcao going for the Porsche Tower $4 million apartment deal. Throw in the car too. So just because people are going to buy, an apartment or something like that in South Beach, or does not mean they're coming to Miami. But that rumor has started heating up again. But from everything I've read is this past year he was injured a lot. So is he at this? Do we want him now? At this point, is he too injury prone?
He was doing pretty well, though. He was scoring every time that he was on the field, so it was promising. But like you say, he's injury prone. How often is he going to be injured in Miami? What would happen? They would sell a lot of jerseys, and that would probably pay for his paycheck. But otherwise, we need a player that's going to be scoring day in, day out. And, imagine that having Higuain and him playing at the same time. That would be incredible. The only way that could happen, though, is if they redo the contract with Matias Pellegrini, which,
and Alejandro
is an issue.
Alejandro Michel was asking about that exactly. Do you think we should keep Pellegrini because he has good potential and young? Sometimes I see sparks that he could be really good. Well, he's under contract. He'll be back. But I would like to see that contract renegotiated. We've talked about that a bunch here. He is not proven to be a DP, but he still has potential. I think if there's TAM money, you've seen them do this before, where he could still make almost the same amount of money. They just pay down the contract with TAM. So if they could find some fancy way of doing that, I think that's what they need to do, so they could free up that DP. So Pellegrini will be back, and I do agree with you, Alejandro, that he has potential. At times he looks great and fun to watch, but just not most of the time. It's just a lot of running with really nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and while we're talking about him, there's also another guy that's making a lot of money. He's not a DP, but Julian Carranza is also making a lot of money and really has improved himself. He's scored a couple goals or whatever, but they need to prove themselves.
These are those players that they're banking on, that they can make some money and sell on. Yeah, they've done that.
They definitely want to.
The front office has done that before with other teams, and so now they're trying to do it here. Hey, before we end the show, I know we've spoken mostly about Inter Miami, but I threw this guy's picture up in the thumbnail for a reason. Ricky Lopez, what's his last name? Espin. Ricky Lopez-Espin for Fort Lauderdale CF. He was like their star player, scored a ton of goals for them. Really fun to watch. A lot of people wanted to see him get his chance with the first team. He's out of contract, Ed.
He is gone, and I was surprised as well because he's tall. He's the perfect number 9, man. He reminded me a little bit of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan, because he's tall and he's a point man, and he would have been, I think, perfect for Inter Miami because we really don't have that number 9. But now, I don't know, man. If somebody else is going to pick him up.
I mean, he's out of contract with Fort Lauderdale. Doesn't mean Miami isn't having a conversation with him to come up and take that maybe Kiesewetter role, right? They're getting rid of Kiesewetter. Maybe you bring up Espin and fill that spot where he's now getting a chance to at least train with the first team. He'll get his opportunities to impress. I would like to see that happen. Or he's gone. He's out of contract for Fort Lauderdale. Right. Let's hope Miami is still having conversations with him. But there's several players like Servando Carrasco is out of contract as well. He's
Servando. We had him on the show in Spanish. We interviewed him. You guys can look it up on Futbol Miami TV. We spoke to him. If you don't know, he's married to, who is he married to, Peter?
I don't remember.
Well, everybody remembers, and we didn't even talk about that when we interviewed him. But he's right now in England with Alex Morgan, his wife, and they're and he's out of contract now.
Right.
I'm starting to think that maybe he's just going to stay with her, and he's going to be the house husband.
It's not a bad gig.
He's not under contract anymore.
Fort Lauderdale released Fort Lauderdale, as far as players under contract. Now they have Fort Lauderdale has several players that are part of the academy. I think like Frey, for example, I think he's an academy player. So they have several academy players that will be back with the team. They feature 13 academy players. And so those players will be back next year. But of those more senior type players, they only brought back one person. That's Sammy Guardiri.
Yeah. So that's it. Wow.
That's the only one they exercise. And so then still under contract. Okay. Yeah. Here's Ian Frey and Francisco Raggio. So Ian Frey, I thought was an academy player, but not anymore. He's a Coconut Creek guy. That's why I remember him.
Of course. Yeah. Everybody's from Coconut Creek.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think Uncle Ted was. So, hey, I forgot. We got another voicemail. We got.
Well, let's listen to him before we go. Yeah.
We got to go a little late, Ed. I mean, we chopped up the show a little bit. We got to give the people something. Got to pay them back.
A couple extra minutes, right? A couple extra minutes.
What's up, Uncle Ed? It's Jonathan Carranza. Yeah. Just want to call and ask you a question. So, based on the roster, I feel like we should get rid of Sweat. And I'm sorry, Pete, because I know you like him as your captain and everything, but I think we should get rid of Sweat.
Okay, that was it. He thinks we should get rid of Sweat. Well, let's just say this. Somebody was asking in here, we should talk about who's going to get protected for the expansion draft. We will do that. I think that is going to be its own show. And so we'll do that, right before the draft. So just make it timely. So we'll do that. But he's a player that I imagine you don't protect because you can only protect, I think, 11 players. You don't protect him. So he may not be with the team next year. He's also could be used as trade bait. It might be somebody, you've got a good team and you need that one piece. Look, he's not a terrible player. He just didn't work for us. He did okay in New York. Right. So, but Judge Dredd thinks we should sign Alex Morgan as a forward. How would she do in Inter Miami?
I don't know. She's pretty good, man. I haven't seen any of the Tottenham games, but I would imagine, I don't know if she scored. I know she missed a penalty or something recently, so I think she's still a little bit out of form. But
it would be really interesting to see how a star female player would do in the men's, team, because that's a constant conversation about like women playing in professional sports. There's always talk about women trying out to be NFL kickers and things like that. And the gap is definitely not as big as it once was. Of course, there's a physicality part of it, but it'd be fun to see. She's good. She might tear it up.
Right.
All right, we got another voice.
Maybe they should allow. Okay. Oh, cool. Let's do it.
Hey, what's up? What's going on, fellas? This is your favorite uncle, Uncle Ned from Jersey. Just want to let you guys know, man, everybody's expendable over there at Inter Miami. I can't think of anybody on the roster from Higuain to Matuidi to Pizarro, even to Morgan, who is a franchise player over there. So being that we don't have a franchise player, everybody's expendable. And by the way, Tubby has got to go. I'm telling you guys, if he doesn't get the right free agents this year in the offseason, Tubby's got to go. You look at these guys that just played today, which is Columbus Crew versus New England. Most of their roster is made up of Americans from MLS. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody has the money that we have to spend, but yet they're going further than us in the playoffs. Look at Nashville. Nashville didn't ball out as far as salaries. They had a low salary, but they still went further than us in the playoffs. Why is that? Because they have a GM that has an eye for talent, that's willing to scout outside of one country in South America, okay, and is willing to pick out gems from the MLS. He's got Dax McCarty. He's got Anibal Godoy and a few other guys over there in Nashville that it doesn't take rocket science. These guys that played in MLS for a long time, they're just looking for a team to go to. Tubby could have did the same thing. Instead, we're on flights of fancy here, looking for super talent from overseas that I guess fit into Beckham's ego, I guess. So I give this team to like the to middle of next year, and if Tubby Kim Jung McDonough doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing, he needs to be going to take a one-stop trip to Fort Lauderdale Airport and get on the next plane to wherever he needs to go. All right, guys. This is Uncle Ned signing out. I'm out.
Uncle Ned. Ed.
Well, we know who that is, but there's a lot of uncles now, man, and I think I've started a trend.
Yeah, I think you have. I think everybody that calls in must be an uncle now.
All right.
I'm talking to you, Mr.
Pretty
Carranza.
interesting, but but it's funny.
Superior 7 asks, who's Tubby? Ed, tell us who's Tubby.
Well, I think he's referring to Paul McDonough.
Yeah. And one goal says Eric.
Talking about.
Eric
because
has
we're talking about the roster and everything. So
yeah, and Eric's volunteered to drive him to the airport for free, all the way from Jersey. So okay.
Well, we'll see what develops, Peter.
Yeah, good point he made about Caleb Porter. Caleb Porter, the coach of Columbus Crew. We mentioned him earlier. He did it with Portland as well. He did. He's a player that a coach that has done well without stars. Done well with just your average kind of MLS player. Kind of makes you remind you a little bit of maybe Ray Hudson with the Miami Fusion. We talked about that before, where the Miami Fusion team was not a team of stars. They were just well put together. They complemented each other. They had the right coach to manage them. Whereas Paul McDonough maybe went after just Argentina. Whatever's in Argentina that we can have, we'll take. And it didn't necessarily.
He's in love with Argentina.
Yeah, he's in love with Argentina. He's got some great scouts, I guess, in Argentina, but he needs to look elsewhere as well. But, he also was building probably for a different coach. Let's be honest. He was picking players with a different coach in mind. So,
I think the only one that actually came that Alonso really wanted was Pizarro.
Right. And even he's not happy and not quite working out, but you would think of anybody, Pizarro and him would click. Because they've worked together now 3 times.
Mm-hmm. So,
one goal. I agree with you. I hope they aren't listening to this one. We kid because we love the front office in case they tuned in. Yeah. Look, I said this before. I think Paul McDonough is a great guy, but I mean, everybody's job has to be reviewed in this kind of forum. I mean, this is what sports is. You're every day you're getting reviewed by some just fans like us. That's what a fan does. And when a fan is frustrated, they may call you a name. And he's a big enough boy. Trust me, I've talked to him. He can handle being called Tubby. He's a big enough man. It's not going to hurt him in any way. He's going to be fine.
And as fans, we just want to win, and we want that winning team to also be everybody in the front office, everybody that's working behind the scenes trying to make this team, what we all expect it to be, a championship team. And so we're always going to be criticizing because that's, just the way, we are. So anything else, Peter?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up today. Everybody, thanks so much for joining in and sticking with us through the challenging, technical difficulties that we did experience. So really appreciate you sticking through it with us. And it was fun. Had a good time talking tonight, Ed. And we'll do it again next week. How about that?
Oh, for sure. And hopefully we won't have the interruptions. And I'll tell my dog not to get involved as much and ruin it for us. But Peter, I got to tell you, we finally hit 3,000.
We did. All right.
We did right now as we spoke.
Let's hang on. Thanks, guys. We gotta give a shout out to some of these people then. Who are the most recent subscribers? Thank you to the last 3 subscribers that put us over. It looks like Ale Boss, Pablo Rule.
Thanks, Ale Boss.
Pablo Rule, you rule, Pablo. And I can't say this, but Tekla Hill King 14 vlog, something like that. But thank you to you 3 for putting us over that little goal there. So
3,000, and do a screenshot so I can put it up on social media, thanking them because one of them was the 3,000 guy. So we thank you guys for listening to us, putting up with us, and especially when we have glitches in the system.
Yeah, and Eric Thomas is asking for player grades next week.
Oh, okay. We could do that. We can give that. Do you want the it to be like an over 10, a 10 scale, or A, B, C, and F?
I like
that type of thing.
I'm a fan of the school grades. I mean, you flunk.
We can do that.
I'm a fan of A, B,
pluses
C.
and stuff. We'll use the pluses and the minuses and all that.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yep. All right. Means we got to do a little homework. Thanks so much for giving us a homework assignment, Mr. Eric Thomas. But so we, yeah, Eric agrees. A, B, C, D, and F. I agree because the F stings, right? So you want, if a player is bad, you know, you want to.
Could we give him an F plus? You think that
an F plus if they really sucked? If you really sucked, you're an F plus. That'd be funny. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. I think Ed froze there a little bit, but please like, share, and subscribe. Now the next goal is 4,000, so let's get over that hump. But I appreciate those getting us to 3,000. So thanks so much to Caneswear. Again, go to caneswear.com. Get all your Inter Miami gear. I was just in Lincoln Road Mall today. I was walking around Miami Beach today. I went into the store, that store Pele. And no offense to Pele, they have a nice little section for Inter Miami. Little.
Right.
Caneswear's got a huge selection. Go to Caneswear.
Just comparing.
Just comparing. You know, it's a fun store, but Caneswear's got a better selection. So go to Caneswear or caneswear.com. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. See you next week.
Ya terminamos.